dust tastes like iron and regret. He can feel it settling on his cracked lips, mixing with the dried blood at the corner of his mouth. His wrists are bound with rough hemp that cuts into skin already raw from 3 days of travel. The wagon beneath him rocks with a rhythm that feels like mockery, each jolt sending fresh pain through his shoulder where the arrow wound has begun to fester. He keeps his eyes closed, not from exhaustion, though that weighs on him like stones, but because he refuses to see the faces of the men who captured him. He refuses to see the fort growing larger on the horizon. He knows what waits there. He has heard the stories since childhood. Captured warriors do not return. The wagon stops. Voices rise and fall in that strange, clipped language he has learned to recognize, but never speak. Hands grab him, not gently, pulling him down onto ground that feels too solid after days of movement. He stumbles but forces himself upright. His father taught him that a warrior stands, even when standing means nothing, even when standing is the last thing he will ever do. The sun is setting, painting the fort walls the color of old blood. Appropriate, he thinks. He has made peace with what comes next. He has sung his death song in silence over and over since they tied his hands. He is 23 years old, and he is ready to join his ancestors. But then something impossible happens. A door opens in one of the wooden buildings. A woman steps out, wiping flour from her hands onto a faded blue apron. She is perhaps 40, with hair the color of dried grass pulled back severely from a face weathered by sun and hardship. She glances toward the commotion, toward the soldiers gathered around the wagon, toward him, and she stops, completely stops. Her hands freeze mid-motion. The cloth she was holding falls to the dust. Her face changes in a way he cannot name, shifting through expressions too quick to catalogue. Recognition, disbelief, something that looks almost like grief. She takes 3 steps forward, then stops again, pressing one hand to her mouth. The soldiers are talking, arguing about where to put him, which cell, whether the commander needs to be informed immediately. But she is not listening to them. She is staring at him with an intensity that makes him want to look away, but he cannot. Because somewhere in the deepest part of his memory, in a place he has spent years trying to bury, he recognizes her too. Her name surfaces like something drowning. Sarah. Her name was Sarah. She moves toward the men with sudden purpose, speaking quickly in that language he barely understands. The soldiers look surprised, then uncomfortable. One of them, a young man with red hair and nervous hands, shakes his head repeatedly. But she persists, her voice rising slightly, and there is something in her tone that suggests authority, or perhaps desperation, or perhaps both. Finally, the older soldier, a man with grey in his beard and tired eyes, nods once, grudgingly. She turns toward him, this woman named Sarah, and for a moment their eyes meet fully. He sees tears there, restrained but present, and he feels something crack open inside his chest that he thought he had sealed shut years ago. She gestures toward a small building near the eastern wall. The soldiers guide him there, less roughly now, perhaps out of confusion more than kindness. The room they put him in is not a cell. It has a window with actual glass, clouded and small, but real. It has a cot with a thin blanket. It has a chair. It has a bucket of water and a cloth folded beside it. This is wrong. This is not how captives are kept. He stands in the center of the room, bound hands hanging uselessly before him, and tries to understand what is happening. The door closes, but he hears no lock turn. He hears footsteps retreating. He hears evening sounds beginning outside, horses, voices, the distant clang of something metal. And then, perhaps 20 minutes later, he hears footsteps returning. The door opens. Sarah enters carrying a wooden tray. On it, bread, still warm, steam rising faintly in the cooling air. A tin cup filled with coffee, black and strong, the smell of it filling the small room. A bowl of stew with pieces of meat and potato visible in the broth. She sets the tray on the chair, then looks at his bound wrists. She hesitates, then pulls a small knife from her apron pocket. He tenses instinctively, but she merely cuts the rope with quick, efficient movements. The hemp falls away. He brings his hands forward slowly, staring at his freed wrists with something close to confusion. She steps back, leaving the tray between them like an offering or a question. "Eat," she says softly. The word is English, but her tone needs no translation. He does not move. He cannot. His mind is spinning through possibilities, through traps, through meanings he cannot grasp. She picks up the bread, breaks off a piece, and eats it herself. Then she takes a sip from the coffee. Showing him it is safe, showing him it is real. She sets the cup down and backs toward the door. "I will return," she says, and leaves. He stands there for a long time after she is gone. The bread is still warm. The coffee is still hot. His stomach cramps with a hunger he has been ignoring for days. Slowly, as if approaching something dangerous, he reaches for the bread. The first bite is almost painful, his body remembering what it means to eat. The bread is simple, flour and water and salt, but it tastes like something he cannot name. The coffee burns his throat, but the pain is clean, almost welcome. He eats, standing up quickly, half expecting someone to burst in and take it away, but no one comes. He finishes everything on the tray. Then he sits on the cot, still clothed, still wearing his torn shirt and the leather band around his arm that marks his people. And he waits. The memories come whether he wants them or not. He was 7 years old the first time soldiers came to his village. It was early spring, the kind of morning when frost still clings to the shadows, but the sun promises warmth. He was playing with his younger sister near the creek, building a small dam with stones and sticks, laughing when the water found ways around their construction, then the sound of horses. Many horses. His mother appeared suddenly, grabbing them both, her face tight with fear. She pulled them toward the hidden place in the rocks where women and children went when danger came, but they were not fast enough. Soldiers surrounded them. His mother held them close, speaking rapidly in Apache. Words he now knows were prayers. A man dismounted, an officer with silver buttons and a face like carved wood. He looked at the children with an expression that might have been pity or might have been calculation. He spoke to his mother in broken Apache, words about peace, about protection, about the fort, about how children could learn a better way. His mother refused. She refused so fiercely that 2 soldiers had to hold her arms. He remembers screaming. He remembers his sister's hand torn from his. He remembers being lifted onto a horse, the world tilting sickeningly, his mother's voice growing distant but never stopping until he could no longer hear it at all. At the fort there were other children, Apache, Navajo, Comanche, all of them taken, all of them lost. They cut his hair. They gave him clothes that itched and buttons he did not know how to fasten. They gave him a new name, Thomas. They told him his real name was savage and wrong. They made him sit in a room with books and slates and a woman who pointed at symbols and expected him to repeat sounds that felt like betraying his tongue. But that woman was not cruel. That woman was Sarah. She did not hit him when he refused to speak. She did not lock him in the dark room like some of the men did with other children. She brought him extra food when he would not eat. She sat with him when he cried at night, not touching, just present. She learned 3 words in Apache: water, sleep, mother. She would say them softly, trying to comfort him in the only way she knew. He hated her for her kindness because it made everything more confusing. He wanted to hate purely. He wanted to divide the world into his people and the enemy, but she would not let him. She kept being human. He was at the fort for 2 years. 2 years of lessons and English words and meals at long tables and prayers to a God he did not understand. 2 years of forgetting slowly what his mother's face looked like in detail. 2 years of his sister's name becoming harder to remember. Some children adapted. Some learned to smile in the new way, to speak the new words without accent, to forget on purpose. He could not, or would not. The difference stopped mattering. He broke rules. He ran away 6 times. Each time they found him and brought him back. Each time Sarah would tend his cuts and bruises and never ask why he kept trying. She knew why. On the 7th escape attempt, he made it further. He traveled for 4 days, stealing food, following stars, remembering stories his father had told about navigation. He found a group of Apache hunters. They brought him home. His mother wept for 3 days. His father said nothing but held his shoulder in a grip that said everything. His sister, older now, strange and distant, eventually remembered him. But he was changed. His people saw it immediately. He knew English. He knew how colonizers thought. He knew their schedules, their weaknesses, their fears. This made him useful. But it also made him suspect. Boys his age asked if he missed the fort, if he missed the soft beds and easy food, if he had forgotten what it meant to be Apache. He had not forgotten. He would prove he had not forgotten. He became the fiercest in training, the most dedicated in ceremony, the most willing to volunteer for difficult tasks. He pushed away every memory of the fort, of Sarah, of the kindness that had confused him. He built walls inside himself, and he defended them more carefully than any territory. Now, 15 years later, those walls are cracking. The door opens again near midnight. Sarah enters with another cup, this one containing something that smells like herbs and honey. She sets it on the floor near the cot and lights a small oil lamp. In the warm light, he can see her face more clearly. The years have marked her, lines around her eyes, silver threading through her hair, a tiredness that seems bone deep. She sits in the chair, maintaining distance, and looks at him with that same searching expression. "You were called Thomas here," she says quietly. "But that was not your name. I never knew your real name." He does not answer. He is not sure he remembers how to form English words after so long. She continues, "I thought of you often, of all the children, but you especially. You fought so hard to go home. I was glad when you succeeded. I hoped you found peace." Her voice cracks slightly on that last word. "Did you?" He looks at the cup on the floor. The herbs are for fever. He can smell it. His wound is infected and she knows it. She is trying to help him even now, even after all these years, even though his people and hers have continued to hurt each other in endless cycles. He reaches for the cup slowly, drinks. The liquid is warm and bittersweet. "Why?" he asks, the English word rough and uncertain in his mouth. It is the first word he has spoken since his capture. "Why do you help me?" She is quiet for a long time. When she speaks, her voice is almost a whisper. "My husband died 4 years ago. Fever, not war. We had no children, only the ones who passed through here, the ones we tried to change." She looks down at her hands. "I told myself we were saving them, giving them opportunities, a better future. But at night, I would hear them crying for their mothers. I would hear them speaking their languages in secret, afraid to be caught. I would see them trying to hold on to pieces of themselves that we were systematically taking away. And I knew what we were doing was wrong. But I did not stop. I told myself I was just one woman. I told myself I was being kind within a cruel system, and that was enough. It was not enough. It will never be enough." Tears are sliding down her face now. "When I saw you today, I saw that little boy who used to stare at the horizon during lessons, who drew pictures of mountains and horses in the dirt when he thought I was not looking, who hummed songs I did not recognize. I saw him, and I saw what happened to him, and I thought, here is my chance, here is one moment where I can do what is actually right, instead of what is allowed." He does not know what to say. His anger, which he has fed so carefully for 15 years, feels suddenly complicated, insufficient. She is not the enemy he has constructed in his mind. She is a woman who participated in harm, but carries guilt. She is a person who was kind within a cruel framework, and now understands that kindness was not enough. She is human in ways that make everything harder. "They will punish you," he says quietly. "The soldiers, the commander. When they discover you, help me." She nods. "Probably. But I am old and tired, and I have spent too many years being afraid of consequences. Let them punish me. At least I will have done one true thing." She stands, moving toward the door. Before she leaves, she pauses. There is a horse in the eastern stable, brown with a white mark on its face. The guards change at dawn. The eastern gate is sometimes left unlocked for 5 minutes during the change. 5 minutes, no more. She meets his eyes directly. "I cannot give you back the years we took. I cannot undo what was done, but I can give you this." She leaves before he can respond. The door closes softly. He sits in the lamplight, holding the cup of herbs, and feels something shifting inside his chest that might be forgiveness, or might just be exhaustion, or might be the beginning of understanding that the world is more complex than the stories warriors tell themselves to survive. He does not sleep. He sits on the cot, drinking the herbal mixture, feeling the fever that has been building for days finally begin to break. He thinks of his mother, who would be 50 now if she is still alive. He has not seen her in 3 years. Duty and war and distance have kept him away. He thinks of his sister, married now with children of her own. He thinks of his father, who died 2 winters ago in battle, who never knew his son carried these complicated memories of the fort. He thinks of Sarah sleeping somewhere in this compound, waiting to see if he will take the chance she is offering. He thinks of the choice before him. He could stay. He could face whatever judgment the commander plans. He could die with honor, proving to his people that he never betrayed them, that the years at the fort did not corrupt him. Or he could leave. He could accept help from a woman who was once part of the system that tried to erase him. He could live. But living means carrying this memory, this moment of unexpected grace forever. It means admitting that the enemy can show mercy. It means his hatred is not pure and his worldview is not complete. The night passes slowly. He cleans his wound as best he can with the cloth and water. He eats the last piece of bread Sarah left. He watches the stars through the small window, finding the patterns his father taught him, anchoring himself to the knowledge that was his before English, before forts, before everything became so tangled. Near dawn, he makes his decision. Not because he wants to live, though he does, not because he forgives the past, though perhaps he is beginning to, but because his mother, when the soldiers took him 15 years ago, fought so hard to keep him. She did not let him go willingly. She screamed and struggled and carried that grief for years. If he dies here in this fort, it erases all of that. It makes her suffering pointless. He owes her the chance to see him again, even if only one more time. When the first light touches the horizon, he moves to the door. It opens easily. No lock, just as she implied. The fort is quiet in that suspended moment between night and day, when even soldiers are sluggish with sleep. He moves along the eastern wall, staying in shadows, every sense alert. His shoulder aches, but the fever has broken. He can move. He can run if needed. The stable is where she said it would be. The horse is there, brown with a white mark, already saddled. Someone has prepared this carefully. Sarah or someone she trusts. He leads the horse out slowly, speaking to it in Apache, the soft words his father used, calming it. The eastern gate is ahead. He can see 2 guards there, both young, both looking more asleep than awake. He waits. His heart is pounding so hard, he thinks they might hear it across the distance. Then, precisely as Sarah said, both guards step away. One walks toward the commander's building. The other heads to the mess hall. The gate stands unattended. 5 minutes. He mounts the horse, feeling the animal's warmth beneath him, its readiness. He does not gallop. That would make noise. He walks the horse through the gate at a steady pace, as if he has every right to be there, as if he is a scout heading out for morning patrol. No one shouts, no alarm sounds. He clears the gate and continues walking for another 100 yards. 200. 500. The fort is growing smaller behind him. His hands are shaking on the reins. Only when he is far enough that arrows could not reach him does he allow the horse to run. They race across the desert floor as the sun rises, painting everything gold and red and possible. He does not look back. He cannot. If he looks back, he will see Sarah standing somewhere on those walls, watching him go, and he does not know what that will do to him. He rides for 2 days, stopping only when the horse needs rest. He knows these lands. He was born in these mountains. The desert speaks to him in ways the fort never could. On the evening of the 2nd day, he sees smoke from cooking fires. His heart lifts. Home. His people. He approaches slowly, calling out in Apache, identifying himself. Warriors emerge, weapons ready, then lowering them when they recognize him. They swarm around him with questions. Where was he? They heard he was captured. How did he escape? He tells them a version of the truth. He was taken to the fort. He was kept in a room. He found a chance and took it. He does not mention the bread. He does not mention the coffee. He does not mention Sarah or her tears or the horse she prepared or the gate she arranged to be left open. These details feel private, sacred almost. His people celebrate his return. His mother holds him and weeps and calls him by his true name, the one she gave him at birth, the one the fort tried to erase. His sister brings him food and sits with him, and they do not need many words. He is home. He has survived. But in the nights that follow, he dreams of Sarah. He dreams of her standing at the window of the small building, watching the eastern horizon, wondering if he made it. He dreams of the consequences she might face. He dreams of her words, "At least, I will have done one true thing." He wonders what became of her. He wonders if she is punished, dismissed, shamed. He wonders if she regrets her choice. He carries these questions like stones in his chest. He cannot speak them to anyone. How could he explain that he owes his life to a woman who was part of the system that tried to destroy him? How could he make them understand that gratitude and anger can exist in the same breath? Months pass. The seasons turn. His wound heals into a scar he carries on his shoulder. He returns to the rhythms of his people, hunting, ceremonies, councils, the endless tension of knowing soldiers are always near. He participates in raids when needed. He defends his territory. He is a warrior. But something has changed in him. When they speak of colonizers around the fire, when they tell stories of cruelty and betrayal, he listens differently now. He does not contradict. He does not defend. But internally, he holds space for complexity. He knows now that within any group there are those who cause harm and those who question it. There are those who follow orders without thought and those who break rules at personal cost. The world is not as simple as he once needed it to be. This knowledge does not make him weaker. If anything, it makes him more dangerous because he can see his enemies as human now, can anticipate their choices, can understand their divisions. But it also makes him lonelier. He stands slightly apart from his brothers in a way he cannot explain. 2 years after his escape, he hears news from a trader who moves between worlds. The fort has been largely abandoned, too expensive to maintain, too many conflicts. The military has shifted focus elsewhere. Most of the buildings stand empty. Some have been taken over by families looking for shelter. He listens to this news with his face carefully neutral. That night, alone, he makes a decision he knows is dangerous and possibly foolish. He rides to the fort. It takes him a day and a half. When he arrives, he sees the trader was right. The walls are crumbling in places. The gates hang open, unmanned. Only a few buildings show signs of life. Smoke from chimneys, clothes hanging to dry, voices faintly audible. He approaches carefully, ready to flee if needed, but no one stops him. An old man sees him, squints, and goes back to repairing a wagon wheel. A child stares but does not raise alarm. He ties his horse and walks through the compound, feeling surreal, seeing the place where he was both prisoner and student, now fading into dust. He finds the small building where he was kept. The door is unlocked. Inside, the cot remains, the chair, the window, but the space feels hollow now, abandoned. He stands there, remembering the taste of warm bread, the smell of coffee, the sound of Sarah's voice saying, "Let them punish me." He does not know what he hoped to find here. Closure, perhaps, or confirmation that it all really happened, that it was not fever dream or false memory. He turns to leave and nearly collides with someone entering. It is a woman, younger than Sarah, with a baby on her hip and exhaustion in her eyes. She startles, then relaxes slightly when she sees he is not reaching for a weapon. "This is my room now," she says in accented English. "We have permission. The army said families could use the buildings." "I am looking for someone," he says carefully. "A woman named Sarah. She worked here, years ago." The woman shifts the baby to her other hip. "I know that name. Older woman. Used to teach." He nods. The woman's face softens with something like pity. "She died, friend, 1.5 years ago, maybe. Sickness. She is buried in the plot beyond the north wall, with the others who served here." She pauses, studying his face. "You knew her?" He cannot speak. He nods once. The woman touches his arm briefly, a gesture of unexpected compassion. She was kind. I am sorry. He leaves the building, the fort, rides until he cannot see the walls anymore. Then he stops and sits on the ground and allows himself to feel the weight of it. Sarah is gone. The woman who saved him, who carried guilt she could never fully repay, who risked everything for one moment of actual righteousness, is gone. He will never be able to thank her. He will never be able to tell her what her choice meant. He will never be able to ask the 1,000 questions he has carried. The chance for that conversation has died with her. He sits until the sun begins to set, until the sky turns the colors of the bread she gave him, warm and gold and impossible. He sings a prayer in Apache, the kind his people sing for those who have passed. It is not appropriate, perhaps. She was not Apache. She was not family. But she was human, and she chose compassion when it cost her, and that deserves to be honored, regardless of which side of history she stood on. When he returns to his people, he does not tell them where he went. He carries Sarah's death as privately as he carried her kindness. Over the years, he becomes known for his wisdom in council. He is one of the voices that argues for strategic thinking, for recognizing complexity, for understanding that not all colonizers are the same, and that survival sometimes means making impossible choices. He is not always popular. Some call him soft. Some question his loyalty. But those who are close to him, who have earned his trust, know there is nothing soft about him. He has simply learned that strength includes the ability to hold multiple truths at once, that a person can be both victim and survivor, that an enemy can show mercy and still represent a harmful system, that gratitude and anger can coexist, that the world is vast and complicated, and no single story explains it. He lives to be an old man. He has children, grandchildren. He tells them stories of their people's history, of battles and ceremonies, and the old ways. Sometimes late at night, when the fire is low and only his closest family remains, he tells them another story, about a time he was captured, about a woman who gave him bread and coffee when he expected punishment, about how she helped him escape at great personal risk, about how one moment of unexpected humanity changed the way he understood the world. His grandchildren listen with wide eyes. They ask questions. Was she good or bad? He smiles, the lines around his eyes deepening. She was human, he says simply, and sometimes that is the most complicated thing a person can be. Years after his death, when historians try to piece together the conflicts of that era, they find gaps in the story, moments of inexplicable mercy, instances where enemies helped each other for reasons that do not fit neatly into narratives of pure good or pure evil. They find a grave outside an abandoned fort, marked only with the name Sarah and a date. They find oral histories from Apache elders about a warrior who spoke of colonizers with unexpected nuance. They find evidence of children taken from their families, damaged by a system designed to erase them. And they find evidence that some of those children survived and carried complicated memories. The historians do their best to make sense of it. They write papers and books. They create timelines. But some truths cannot be captured in academic language. Some truths live only in the space between what happened and how it was remembered. Some truths require sitting with contradiction, with the uncomfortable reality that people we are taught to see as villains can surprise us with decency, and people we are taught to see as heroes can participate in harm. History is not a story with clear sides. It is a collection of moments, some brutal, some tender, all of them real. The fort eventually collapses entirely. The walls crumble. The buildings return to dust. The land reclaims what was built on it. But somewhere in the soil mixed with the ruins are the remnants of that small room where a captured warrior was given bread and coffee, where an act of defiance against cruelty took place, where two people shaped by forces larger than themselves found a way to recognize each other's humanity, despite everything working against it. The land remembers, even when humans forget. The wind carries stories that have no official record, and sometimes, if you listen carefully in the places where great pain and small kindnesses collided, you can almost hear the echo of that moment. The sound of rope being cut, the smell of warm bread, the quiet voice saying, "Let them punish me. At least I will have done one true thing." Some encounters reshape what we believe about the other side. They do not erase the harm. They do not justify the systems that caused suffering. But they remind us that within any conflict, there are individuals making choices. Some choose cruelty, some choose indifference, and some, despite everything, despite the cost, despite the consequences, choose compassion. These moments do not fix history. They do not balance the scales, but they matter. They prove that even in the darkest times, even when systems demand inhumanity, there are those who refuse, who risk everything for one act of actual decency, who understand that being remembered as kind is worth more than being remembered as obedient. Sarah understood this. The warrior, whose Apache name is lost to time but whose memory remains in the stories his grandchildren told, understood this. And in understanding it, they both became something larger than the roles history assigned them. They became proof that people can surprise us, that grace can appear in the unlikeliest places. That bread and coffee offered at the right moment can mean more than safety or sustenance. They can mean, I see you, you are human, and that recognition, in a world designed to deny it, is worth everything. If stories like this one move you, if memories this delicate and complicated deserve to be preserved, consider staying for more. Not all history fits in textbooks. Some of it lives in the spaces between the official accounts, waiting to be honored.